Anyway, back here in the bush is Ethan's dad's 68 F100, 3-speed, inline 6, 240 or 300. I haven't really got a good look at it yet, but it's been back here in the woods, up on blocks, long time. We're gonna try and fire this thing up and bring it on out. So it's definitely farm fresh and parked in the woods here for a really long time. See if I can get around all the poison ivy and whatnot here. Obviously, I took a tree on the roof, pop that back out. Pretty rotty, but should be awesome if we can get this dug out of here. Obviously, it hasn't moved in an extremely long time. So anyway, we're gonna get working through this thing, and hopefully, like I said, we're gonna drive this thing right on out of here. Should be a fair amount of work, but completely within reason. So you just can't kill these old vehicles. A little bit of work and she'll be cranking again. Howdy my friends, and welcome to the channel today. I'm Luke, Thunderhead289, here on YouTube. Now this video today here is one of my most favorite revivals I ever had the opportunity to be on, you know, and it's not because it's some crazy muscle car or anything. It's one I did with my coworker Ethan, and you know, it's a truck that has a lot of sentimental value to him. It sat for many years, and he remembers riding around in the thing with his dad back in his youth. And so, you know, just the whole sentimentality of the thing is really cool to see, and it was cool to have him jump in and help me go through the process of doing it. You know, he was very actively involved in this revival, as you'll see. So, you know, we had a great time, and honestly, this is the perfect formula for a revival vehicle. It's manual everything. These are the most easiest cars to bring back from the grave, and if you actually want to drive them at some point, you know, these are the ones you can usually put back on the road the easiest, and you know, you don't have to sink a lot of money into them to do so. And a lot of you guys have asked me over the years, like, what are the typical types of things that you do to get these cars back on the road? You know, what's your methodology and everything? And this video serves as a very good narrative, I guess, structure of what I do with engines, basically to get them back going again, and to do it in a way that doesn't destroy them. So if you do want to drive the vehicle down the road, you can do that. All my daily drivers that I roll with, you know, the Maverick, my 74 F100, which was long before I was ever on YouTube, and you know, all the vehicles that you've seen on my channel, you know they were all revivals, and then, you know, with a little bit of effort and know-how and elbow grease, they become daily drivers, and you know, now I drive them 80 miles a day round trip to work, no problem. So with that, let's jump right in. I appreciate you guys coming along with me today. This is definitely a good one. Taking a look at the engine here. Obviously it's pretty crusty. Ethan's got all his spark plugs out here, and if I grab onto the fan, everything seems to turn, so the engine's definitely not stuck, so that's good news. So right now we're dumping some automatic transmission fluid down the spark plug holes, kind of let stuff soak, get some lubrication in the cylinders, and then keep on working through it. Luckily we can turn it over by hand with the fan there. That's what she needs. Got any mice stuff up in the...
We did, yeah.
Oh, there's some. There you go. That air cleaner's mint. You can put that right back on. That's fine.
Well, it's gonna go right back on right now.
Oh boy.
Don't got nothing else to do, so. It's actually spinning pretty freely.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So, yeah, we'll cut a chunk of that off, stick it on, and plug it, because that had to have been mice getting to that. Alright, plug in the coolant lines with the old spark plugs. That makes perfect sense. Perfect sense. So we're going to pull our thermostat out here, scrape this all off, and we'll just run with no thermostat because I'm sure that's seized up. Getting closer. Coolant lines are all plugged. Got this doped up again. We don't have a thermostat, and for one, 195 is way too hot of a thermostat, but for two, there's no reason all the rust and junk in there, it would just get caught behind the thermostat and plug it up anyway. So just for firing it up and putting it around purposes, I think this will do just fine. I got the carb bolts out. Carburetor's free. It's got a little bit of rust in it, but down at the bottom looks like it was good and sealed. The throttle linkage moves good, so we're in good shape there. Ethan's wiring up kind of a starter ignition switch, so I'm sure the one inside, you know, mice have been in there, who knows. So got a little industrial switch we're going to try and use. Alright, we're just about ready to see if the engine will turn over. So Ethan's getting the old terminal corrosion kind of sanded out of there. We got our switch wired up, so when it's flipped we got direct power to the coil. And I've pulled a plug wire off here, put it on the coil, and then put the spark plug on a ground. Ironically, it's the fuel pump, but shouldn't be any fuel in it, so should be fine. So hopefully we see some spark, and if we do, we can move on from there. But if not, I'm sure those points and all that are throated up pretty good. But hopefully we can see some spark and spray some carb cleaner down this engine and see if it's worth our time to try and get it running, really.
Who cares?
All right, you want to bump her over there? Like you said, turn the engine over a bit. Turn the engine over a bit. That Bindex gear isn't either not coming out or not making connection there, so get her in a different position. Hit her again. You know what that means? You have to go down there and hit it with a hammer. Here's your implement of bashing. See if we can unstick it. Just hit that sucker as hard as you can. Alright, bump her over. That should have got her. Look at that. Oh, we should probably move our tools. We're throwing all of our ATF. Alright, light her off. Oh yeah, look at all that flying out of there. All over the distributor. Perfect, perfect. Be good and lubed up now. Alright, so we're testing our coil because you know, we weren't sure if we were getting spark through it and we were having a hard time being able to tell. So we got our makeshift key switch on, and
So right now what we're doing is the condenser, or the coil goes through the points off the ignition switch. Your coil gets hot power from your ignition switch here, and then goes through the windings of the coil and then out on the secondary wire to your distributor. Usually we've just got it hooked up to a spark plug here and grounded out. And so how the coil works is when the secondary wire on your coil goes through your points and the points open up, it loses its ground intermittently, and that way it will discharge all the power from the coil to your distributor to make it fire. So what we're doing is going through and bypassing the point system and basically taking this ground wire, hooking it up to the coil, and grounding it out and interrupting it. So you can kind of see there that as we interrupt, it keeps going and sparking through the spark plug. So that means the coil is good on this truck, and we should be able to hook it up and run.
Alright, so we've eliminated the coil as a problem. We've never really popped the cap off here to take a good look, but it's got some pretty nasty corrosion there on the points. So we're going to get that sandpapered off and then put our cap back on and see if we can get some spark through a plug wire now going through the coil and the distributor as well. Alright, so we verified that we had a problem with our points and condenser. We tried to sand it up, but obviously, you know, we just weren't getting fire across it. So now we got a new set in here, a new condenser, new points. So what we're going to go ahead and do is set our point gap. Now normally you have it set at 17 thousandths. The spec is somewhere within there, but we don't have that today, so we have a little business card, and it's about 17 thousandths thick or so. So what we're going to do is get the engine, turn it over by hand here as we got no plugs in, get it up on one of these high points here. And we're just going to simply push it up against it and get our body spaced out here. Slip this business card in if we can, and now we'll tighten down our 2 screws here, and we should be good to go. So when you tighten them up, you want to make sure that that body stays in line. This one's got a little more play, but anyway, that's pretty much it. All right, got everything hooked up here. New points and condenser in it, and now we go ahead and bump our engine over. You got some spark. Perfect. So now we're going to go ahead and stick all our plugs back in, shoot a little carburetor cleaner down the intake, and see if we can get some fire out of her. All right, got all our crusty old plug wires hooked back in. Got some carb cleaner here. We're gonna spray it in the intake, see if we can get this engine to light off. So I guess let's see what she does. Holy crap. It's gonna run. Rebuild the carburetor, get a fuel pump on it, and I think we'll be in good shape. So that's amazing. Sitting in the woods and the weeds for 17, 20 years. Amazing. We gotta do it a few times.
We'll just keep spraying it in there.
Come on, battery. And there goes the ignition coil. So, alright. Well, guess we're done for the night, but that's encouraging. I think definitely get the carburetor straightened out and fuel pump, get a makeshift gas tank rigged up, and this thing will actually be running. It'll probably idle. Alright, we got the old Carter 1-barrel carburetor here, and we're going to tear into it and get everything cleaned up and hopefully set up so the truck can run under its own power and hold a steady idle. So let's tear into this thing, clean it out, and get it set up right. Someone cross-threaded that one pretty good, and the choke is completely and entirely seized up. Man, try again. I got some vice grips.
They might work better.
Right, that was an advantage, totally.
That metal piece in there I thought we had, but apparently it's just a stem.
Hey!
That's all it took.
Right there, you just had to break that piece off. Perfect. Fun stuff. There we go, we're in business.
I don't know if we're getting it. That came off a lot easier than I thought.
Alright, some carburetor cleaning and $16 worth of carburetor rebuild kit, and this Carter is ready to drop back onto the 240. Looking just about as crusty as when it come off, but slightly better, and it should actually be able to run the vehicle, so we'll find out soon. Alright, so here we go, day 2. We've determined that we can actually probably get it running because it'll light off, so we're going to really jump into it now. I've rebuilt the carburetor back at my place. We'll drain the oil, get the carburetor back on, put this boat gas tank on the passenger floor over there and route some line for it. And Ethan, he's going to work through the brakes, and we might rob some wheels and tires off a Ranger because, as you can see, you know, it's up on blocks. Alright, got the mating service all cleaned up. Got our Quality O'Reilly's base gasket here that come with our carb kit. We're going to go ahead and get this thing slammed on here. Pulling the old mechanical fuel pump off here. we got a new one to go in. Obviously it's all rotted out and we don't want to suck the fuel up from the original gas tank anyway, so we're gonna get this thing all ripped off, put our new one on, get our gas tank landed in our passenger seat and all our lines ran, and we should have good fuel to our freshly rebuilt but yet still crusty carburetor. Alright, so O'Reilly's failed us here. Here's our new fuel pump. Notice the difference between our new fuel pump and our old fuel pump. So this shaft is way too long. But taking a look at the old fuel pump, I guess it does pump fuel here. Finally got some up from the gas tank. So you see if you pump the diaphragm, it's got some spit to it. So it won't last too long because it's pretty old, but we'll put it on. It should run us for a little bit at least. Trying to get our jack under here so we can get on the pumpkin and maybe jack it up and get the hubs off the cinder blocks here, so maybe we can get some tires on this thing. Oh look, they even left you all your lug nuts. There she comes finally. Don't look so bad. Those are brand new brake pads. Someone was nice enough, there's some anti-seize compound on here, or else that would have been a really bad day.
Wonder how many parts they're gonna come out in.
It's safe to say the brake might be slightly compromised.
Yeah.
You can see that I do the easy work and leave the hard work to more capable individuals. Alright, got our fuel line all kind of rigged up from our pump, which amazingly after sitting all this time works for now. So obviously we got an inline filter so we don't compromise our carburetor rebuild. Notice this little piece of zip tie menagerie here, so we don't want our fuel line laying on our valve cover and getting hot, leading to vapor lock and percolation of the fuel where it'd stop us from running. So got a little piece of hose as insulator, and our hose is up and off the valve cover. And that's assuming a lot that we're going to run here, but we're optimistic so far. Step bits. How not to break your wrist when you're drilling holes in sheet metal. Good product there. Got us this prime gas tank that come up out of the barn. It looks like it's been sitting for just about as long as the truck. But anyway, we robbed a fitting off of our fuel pressure gauge, and now we can hook our fuel line up to this baby. Alright, so here's kind of the extent of our fuel system, and it's pretty righteous if I do say so myself. So we got an old boat gas tank in here, and our fitting and whatnot, we got some just line that we found laying around that's some chemical line. It's running through a hole we drilled in the firewall here, and I wrapped it with tape to make kind of a rudimentary grommet and protector for the fuel line so it doesn't get cut. So I tried to deburr that hole out, but anyway, that's some added support. So got some tires off the Ranger, I see. Perfect. So coming around here, we just got the zip tie special. Fuel lines coming up and in and into the fuel pump, then we're pumping back across. Of course, we got our fuel filter to stop any crap that's in that old fuel pump that somehow still works. And anyway, we're getting closer to lighting her off and hopefully driving her out of here. Alright, our heater hose was pretty chewed up and destroyed by mice, so what we got going here is we just used our old spark plugs and used them as coolant line plugs, and we shouldn't have any problems here because we're not running any thermostat, so we're not going to have an issue where it's not bypassing or something that needs to be, so we'll be fine there. Obviously this isn't permanent, and running without a thermostat isn't permanent, but just to get it out of here. Alright, let's put a little bit more coolant in and see if everything stays plugged and there's no coolant leaking from anywhere. Nice to have a funnel, but you know. Look at that, free spinning. At least that's not going to stop us.
If I can get it all the way on the stud, because you don't have a deep one.
Oh yeah, I don't have a deep well, do I?
No, it's okay.
Could be fun. Trying to run the nut all the way down and clean the threads up, and then get some tranny fluid we had left over on there to kind of lubricate the threads up. I just kind of haphazardly poured on. It's good. Lubrication. Then they zip on real nice. Yep. This looks completely safe to crawl under and change the oil. Especially this one cinder block, it's barely holding anything. Professional opinion, looks good enough to me. Alright, we're getting the oil changed in this thing now that we know that it'll run. We don't really want to pump all that old sludgy crap that's in the bottom through the engine around. So anyway, we've pulled the oil filter off, we're putting a new oil filter on, and we've drained the oil. And you know, we may forget a lot of tools when we're out here and whatnot, but at least we always remember stuff like this, because you definitely don't want to be draining this oil all over the ground into the environment. I got the oil filter halfway filled up so that when it fires up, it doesn't take time to prime. It's always a good oil change tip. This one I only have filled halfway up because it kind of goes into the engine horizontally here, so obviously you fill all the way up, it would just dump all out all over. So but anyway, moving right along and getting pretty close to firing it up. Ethan's getting the wheels on, and amazingly that's starting to go pretty smoothly. Alright, so we're putting our Walmart brand 1040 in here. We're not really sure of the bearing condition, so we're going a little bit thicker than 1030 just to be safe. And the reason we're putting our Walmart brand in here is we're just going to run it for a little bit, and then probably all the sludge will get loosened up and be in the bottom of the pan. So before too long we'll have to end up draining it. So anyway, of course, no funnel. We're going to go ahead and pour this right on in and keep on rolling right along. Oiling up the studs so that maybe if we're lucky we can get some nuts on it. But check that pro stud oiling method out right there. Got all 4 tires on here, so got to get us some gasoline and we should be able to crank it, and this nice clear line we'll actually see when we are getting fuel, and we should be able to start it up. So you're good. Alright, we're going to try and get the gas poured in here, and obviously we should have a funnel, and it would be really nice if the fill was not on the other side, but look at how that contour just fits in that floorboard. Oh boy, there we go. Like a pro. So this is our vacuum advanced canister line, and on this engine in particular it's hooked up to full manifold vacuum, but it's been sitting so long I wasn't sure if the diaphragm was good anymore. And I wouldn't really want to hook it up because then we just have a big vacuum leak. But a good way to test this, as gross as it is, you can just stick your mouth on the end of this and suck. And if you can't suck air through it, then it's still good. So I've done this. I can't suck air through it, so our diaphragm's good. And we're going to hook it onto our carburetor here so we don't have a small vacuum leak. Go ahead and bump her over. There goes the fuel. Alright, let her breathe for a little bit. So I think we ought to go in 10-second spurts here so we don't burn our starter up. Considering how mint it is, we had to go down there and smack it to make it work anyway. So fuel's pumping up now. In good shape. Get some. Turn it over. Might have lost our diaphragm now. Turn it over. Watch this fuel right here. Yep. So I'm working through a few gremlins here. We thought our fuel pump was bad, but really our pickup had rotted out in our gas tank. Then when it would fire, it'd kind of try and rev to the moon. We couldn't quite figure that one out, and some dum-dum, this guy right here, took the throttle return spring up backwards, so it was on wide open throttle when it would fire up. Luckily we weren't getting enough fuel to keep it running, so it only fired for a second. So anyway, now we should be good, and it'll probably light right off like a dream. So Give it a little choke, and if you can manually work the throttle there. Probably idle. Look at that. Imagine that, if you have fuel, it'll run. Oh, now you made it mad. Burning all that nice tranny fluid. Got good manifold vacuum, so the rings are good. Still smoking like a hamster though. Yeah, it'll do that for a while with all this. We dumped a lot of tranny fluid in there. Well, we're holding voltage, so that's good. We're just at about an idle speed. Next time around, we'll be putting it back on it, so we can get things really dialed in. We got really good manifold vacuum. But move the rear tires. Put her in gear, see what happens. All right.
Tire falling out.
Yeah. There we go. Running. We're not getting any smoke now, so we got all our tranny fluid burned out, and the rings, like I said, with the vacuum gauge look real good. Does the electrical work? Like, can you pull the headlight switch? No idea if that works or not. Okay.
Wipers work?
Wipers work. Wow. It's mint. It's basically showroom quality now. Look at that fuel pump. Tremendous. Break that free. It's pretty good, you know. If it was stuck, shouldn't have to pump it up or nothing. It's all mechanical. So now when you pull it towards you, pulling it towards you and all the way down is first. See if you can find any gear. Seems pretty smooth.
It does, but I'm not finding any gears.
Okay. Move her back and forth, up and down. Keep moving her. Yeah, we're not seeing any of the shift linkage move, so obviously we're not attached somewhere between the steering column and our linkage down here. Radio work.
It does. You see the antenna.
Hey, you got a radio station.
I think it's like 105.1.
Classic rock and roll.
Alternator light went out.
Hey, the alternate, that's good. You know, the battery is probably just low because we've been cranking on it so hard. Perfect. All right, here we are again, day 3. While we were away, Ethan pulled the steering column out and got it working again because the linkage was all seized up. So we got that all straightened out, and if you want a more in-depth overview of him going through that, you can check his channel, and I'll link that in the description below. But anyway, I think we're in good shape. We'll get the steering column slammed back in here. It looks like the linkage to the transmission itself is good. So we see that the lever's moving back and forth there. So we'll get that steering column in there and should be pretty close to pulling this thing out of here. All right, got the steering column and time to get that thing in there. Alright, so we got the column back in, and I don't think that was our original issue of why the truck was parked. But looking at the rag joint here, it's pretty sad, and just sitting here in your normal degradation wouldn't have done this. So we believe that we finally found why the truck was parked originally.
So how the rag joint works is it's basically just a piece of felt / rubber that goes in between the column shaft and the gearbox here, and that's just to isolate vibration and whatnot from the truck running, make it a little bit more comfortable for a ride. So you've got a clip that goes from here and bolts it to the piece on the gear box, and then if you rotate this a little bit, you can kind of see this clip right here that would be holding on the rag joint if it was there. However, it's not there anymore, it's gone. So basically all we have it holding in, and it'll work for just a short time driving, are these locating pins right here, and that'll hold it in until we get a new rag joint.
Taking a look at the interior of this truck here, you know, back in its day it was probably pretty nice, I'd imagine. So it's got an FM AM radio here with speakers in the side. I'm not sure if that was factory or not, but that's a pretty nice piece. So overall it's got a pretty nice trim package on it, and it, like I said, was probably pretty darn decent in its day. Oh, ghost lever. That's from Ethan bolting in the bottom of the column there. Alright, Ethan's got the column in here pretty good now, and our little clip to hold our linkage, this one was rusted up and broke when it was removed, and naturally we didn't think to get a replacement, so we're just putting a zip tie on there, as you can see, to hold that linkage on so it doesn't fall out.
Back and down is first, right?
Yep, shift them around, go to second.
Second.
Hey, grab the gear. Third, got it. That's reverse. Hey, that one works. That's basically like new. So we're actually going to go ahead and hook up our throttle cable, because we might possibly actually, for real, drive this out of here. So, and we got all the linkage working. Perfect. We cut a path through here, but you can see it's pretty muddy, so it might be interesting pulling this thing up and out. Alright, we got everything hooked up. Fuel line's all hooked up. We're going to crank it over, and we got the ignition switch actually freed up and working, so we don't have to use our little rigged up switch menagerie. So anyway, we're going to bump it over here. It's going to take a little bit to prime the fuel line, but now we can actually put it in gear and see if we can get those back tires to spin. Give her a little help here, cranking kind of slow, so if we can get it kind of lit off, it'll that fuel pump will kick over a lot faster, and we'll get this fuel up to the carb quicker. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and see if we can actually get our back tires to spin. So on the 3-speed, you pushing the clutch and pull her towards you and down.
Clutch is not working.
Oh, lovely. Alright, so our clutch pedal isn't working, so down here we have this little pivot arm that has this little lever that pushes back against that clutch lever. So we're just going to take it and adjust it out and lengthen it so that when we push in our clutch, it pushes the our little lever farther, and our pressure plate will actually let go of the clutch disc. Alright, so you can get a little bit better look here at what I was referring to. This piece here presses against the clutch lever and disengages the clutch when you press the pedal. So when the clutch wears out, you have to sometimes manually adjust this, and this clutch must be fairly worn down. So what we're going to do is break this jam nut loose, turn our little piece here out and extend it, and then put our jam nut back on, and that should get us within the range where our clutch will separate and we can get it into gear. All right, got that loose, and we're gonna extend this bad boy out and re-jam nut her. All right, with the clutch pressed in, it seems to go into the gears much more easily now. So I'm thinking when we fire it up, we might actually have a clutch pedal. O'Reilly's failed us again here and gave us an air cleaner that was too small to go in this housing. I guess somewhat our fault. We could have taken the old one up. But anyway, solution. All right, so we got that guy on there. I just didn't feel like it was a wise choice with all this dirt and debris trying to pull out of here without an air cleaner. So we made it work. Getting this thing jacked up here so we can get it out. We don't really have any brakes, and we see where our brake leak is back here, and I'm sure there's a leak on the front. So the brake pedal was totally seized up. We had to give it a good kick to break it loose, so I'm assuming we're going to be pulling out of here with no brakes. Take a look here under our in our master cylinder, and there's absolutely no oil in it whatsoever. Alright, we're gonna fire this thing up and see if we can put her in gear and see if we can finally get the back wheels to turn. Alright, see if you can get into gear. Press in your clutch and grab first gear. Perfect. Second. Perfect. Third. Got all the gears. Obviously our steering column repair was absolutely prime. Oh, that's been there for a while. Completely buried. That one's really sunk in there. Oh, there we go. Nice crater there.
There?
Yeah.
He's on the ground.
That's the first time that thing's been on the ground in 20 some years. Awesome. Let's pull this thing out of here. You know, it's pretty darn muddy, and we did try and cut the grass out here for a path to pull this thing out of here. But I think with all our weight in the back end, we're going to be just fine, have plenty of traction. All right, we cleared a path. Runs like a champ. Momentous occasion. Come on, honey. They're breaking free. Oh my God. Stop! You're gonna hit that metal stuff. See if reverse works. You've got to be kidding me.
I think I lost steering though.
Oh, rag joint failure. All right, here we are stopped. And again, what we perceive to be the original problem why the truck was parked. So some super rag joint failure there. See if we can rig something up here and get that hooked back in so we can drive out of here. Got the rag joint all held together with zip ties, so I guess that's as good as we can do for now. So let's try again. Awesome, we're steering again. Stop. All right, make the final run. Probably can't even see nothing in there. And now we got stuck. Spinning. I'm gonna get behind and push. Go for it. some. No freaking way! That looks like a fine seat.
Oh yeah.
Woo!
We lost something. Let's drive up here.
Holy crap. Amazing.
We don't have a rear tire anymore.
The tire's gone.
No, it's there.
That was for traction.